Hello Capricorn friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Jupiter in Aquarius, Capricorn Must Knows. We have finally Jupiter getting out of your sign. I know it's been super intense for everybody in the world with Jupiter in Capricorn. Of course, there are other extenuating circumstances as well that were going on astrologically. But you will be very happy to know that as Jupiter moves on into Aquarius, that hopefully things will be lighter and easier for you, because it's not going to be amplifying and harassing any of those placements. You have to know, a very big must know, that Jupiter does not like to be in Capricorn. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. The energy of Sagittarius is expansive, it's excessive, it's all over the place, it wants to roam and be free, and Capricorn energy is not like that. So when you try to squeeze in, it's kind of like buying something in packaging and then it doesn't work out, and then you try to fold it and get it back in the packaging and you can't fit it and it's busting out the top. That's what it's like. Or it kind of reminds me of like a scolded child, because Jupiter wants to play and be open and, you know, do all of this stuff, and then this Capricorn energy is like forcing it to not be, and it was mad about it, and we all felt that. So the must know is that it's time to celebrate, because hopefully this is going to be much easier. Jupiter is definitely happier in Aquarius. It's an air sign that complements its fire energy with the rulership of Sagittarius, and it's more true to its natural way of being in this placement. Okay, so that's the first thing, which is very exciting. Okay, there are two other must-knows before we get to my list of what we're going to cover, and then going in order sequentially of what we have here. The first is that I'm going to be talking about the end of 2020 through the end of 2021. But if you are thinking back to 2009 when this occurred before, if you're thinking back to prior to that in another 12-year cycle, or if you're watching this 12 years into the future or 24 years into the future, then whenever Jupiter's in Aquarius, the things that we discuss here are going to be relevant for Capricorns. The only difference and the only thing that will not be accurate is at the very end, when I drill down and show you when you'll get the exact hits from Jupiter to your Capricorn placement when it makes that 30-degree angle. Then those obviously won't be relevant beyond those dates, but everything else will be there. So let's look at this. This is what we're going to cover. These are our must-knows. We're going to talk a little bit more about what Jupiter does and what it wants to do, what Jupiter in Aquarius looks like from the global down to the individual level, where Jupiter is going for you as a Capricorn, and what effects you're likely to see from that. We'll talk more about this angle that Aquarius is making to your sign, and we'll talk about the timeline of those exact hits. Okay. So we spoke a little bit about this. Jupiter really wants to expand and grow and be free and amplify and bring benevolence and luck and optimism and, you know, higher perspectives, and basically plant seeds, you know, and have options, which is the opposite of restriction and constriction. So this energy of all of these lists here is what's going to come to these arenas of life now. All right, so just kind of imagine this energy we just described. Now it's going into this energy of Aquarius, and this is true for all zodiac members because this is the sign it's in. And then we'll go next into specific Capricorn things, but we need to know this because it's going to show up for you here and will bring a lot of opportunities. So if you're looking for people who are in your tribe, people that speak your language, not just your mother tongue, but like your vibe, the people you resonate with, finding your place within the group, whether it's online groups or in person, Jupiter in Aquarius wants to help you with this. Also, it can seek to expand your friendship circles or help you see the friends that you have more. Most of us did not get to see our friends very much in 2020, right? So this year will be different, but it will also be very focused on friendships and, you know, just anything having to do with being in groups and your social circles. And this can be, you know, anything from an online group to a local community where you go in and see people, whatever the restrictions are at that point. It's enhancing that experience for you. It's also seeking to expand your networking. So anything where you connect to people for any reason, you know, whether it's an app or whether it's in person, anything here is going to help you to reach your goals. You are very likely to meet people that you need to get to where you're trying to go. People are going to be very helpful to you, whether it's anything from dating, where like someone you know introduces you to someone, or you meet somebody out at some other networking thing, or whether it's like an important business contact, or just someone that you need, you know, like a landscaper or somebody that you need for other purposes. So you're likely going to have a lot of social activity, regardless of whether that's in person or online. Internet-based projects are going to be very much in the forefront for now, for a very long time. This is only going to increase because as we move more into the age of Aquarius, into the planets, the outer planets moving into Aquarius, you know, we can see out of necessity, a lot of people all of a sudden in a couple of weeks, a couple of months had to get their businesses online. But a lot of those people wanted to do that anyway. They just didn't want to do it then, right? So if you're a person who already has been forced to do this, or you're working on this, Jupiter in Aquarius will help you to get your online presence, to get your online products, to get your online education, whatever you're working on. This can help. And also connections with large organizations and humanitarian efforts. And even though there is something specific about communities, whether it's online or in person, there is something very specific about local, like the development of local communities. So any work that you can do there, and also the energy of the one human family. Because as much as this shows us and brings us to people who we have resonance with, it also shows us the bigger picture of the fact that we're all in this together. And so it brings sustainability projects and things with the future, like for the future longevity of us on this planet. So if you're looking to get into any of those arenas for work or for play or other interests, that is going to be very active. Now, specifically for Capricorns, the second house is going to be accentuated. And this is true for the end of 2020 through the through the end of 2021. Now, if you've watched my work for a while, you know that sometimes I talk about these outer planets having a staggered motion, meaning if you are at a later degree, that, you know, it's not going to be in the same place for you as for other people. This is an exception. This time is an exception to that because of the rapidness that Jupiter is moving through Aquarius. It's going to blow through the entire sign of Aquarius between December and May. So, and then it's going to go into Pisces, first couple of degrees. Then it's going to retrograde in the late degrees. Then it's going to go back to Pisces. But because of this, everybody's going to have a very strong focus in the second house. It just might take those of you later in the sign a few months before this second house focus really gets strong, okay? But it will be a very lengthy area of focus for all Capricorn placements. So now, again, keep in mind what we talked about with Jupiter. Expansive, luck, optimism, and apply those energies towards this list here, okay? Your financial self-worth, okay? Expanding that. Your finances. Many people, and I've seen this happen for myself, I've seen this happen for countless clients, Jupiter moving through the second house will often bring you more money because it's your house of personal income and Jupiter expands. It's just quite a simple equation here. It does often bring more bills too. Sometimes that's because we raise our standard of living, you know, when we get more money. That's a tendency that people have. But sometimes it's just because Jupiter's bringing both ends of the spectrum. And sometimes it's bringing more expenses because you're finally getting material things that you've wanted. Okay, so if you wanted to buy that boat, if you want to buy that house, if you want to buy that luxury item, or if you've wanted to buy that solar, you know, system for your house, sustainability and environmental projects are coming in from the second house and they're coming in from the Aquarius side. So Capricorns are getting it from two ends here. You know, if you're wanting to go off the grid or get involved with these alternative things, you've got a lot of that energy, you know, things like getting your budget on track, anything like this, increasing your savings account. Jupiter wants to help you with this. So, but remember, you might get a little spendy. Okay, so my recommendation when I see Jupiter moving through the second house is if you do wind up making more money, do yourself a favor and like put a certain amount in savings rather than using it all. And maybe don't raise your standard of living completely up to the level of your new income, because then you'll be able to cushy up some of these other areas and have some for a rainy day. Okay, so now let's talk about this angle of 30 degrees. 30 degrees is an awkward angle. So whenever you've got a planet, in this case Jupiter is going to make this awkward angle for you, it doesn't really seriously detract from all of these positive potentials. It just means there's a little like to it, where there might be some resistance, there might be some awkwardness, there might be some other things that just, just make it a little bit awkward is really the best word I can use. So I can tell you exactly when those extra awkward spots are going to be for you. And that's what we're going to do right now. So if you are a Capricorn, that is an early degree placement. So basically a January born or 0 to 9 degrees. I don't remember if I mentioned before, I meant to, that if you're watching for Capricorn moon or Capricorn sun or Capricorn rising, this is for you equally. It's not just for the sun and Cap people, okay? Because all of those different placements in your chart are like windows out of your house. They might have a different view, but they're all part of your picture of living there. And it's the same thing with your astrological picture. If you don't know your chart, I highly recommend you run a free birth chart online, because then you can see how many placements in Capricorn you have. And when I give you this information, like drill down to the degree, which I always talk about this in some form or fashion, then you'll be able to utilize this information more to see exactly the level of relevance and the timing, okay? So if you know, like 0 to 2 degrees are basically the first couple of days of Capricorn, that's December. For the rest of the early degree placements, so the rest of the January born, it's going to be January with that little extra awkwardness. Now, awkwardness can also mean you just have to work a little harder or just have something extra to get through to get the reward. Okay, so if you're a middle degree placement, so that's basically January 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19 degrees, like from February through the middle of March or so. And again, you can see the degrees if you know them, 10 to 16 for February, and then 16 through 20 here, or rather 19, okay? Now, if you are a late degree placement, you're going to have extra passes of this exact connection. Now, remember that the connection, even though it's awkward, it can still equal manifestation. So just because you're going to get more passes of this doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. It could just mean that extra things want to come in for you, and every time this passes, it's pushing through that. Right? So January 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees, and in particular 22 degrees, because there's like a full over a month where it hovers at 22 degrees. So anyone from 22 to 29 degrees is going to have more than one pass. Okay, so you can see it gets into Pisces in May, then in June it goes retrograde. And then I'll show you the rest of the calendar here, hold on. Just so you can see if you're a late degree person, if you know your degrees, then you can drill down. All right, so we'll still have the retrograde. Even though it's going to dip into Pisces, it's going to be really close to Aquarius the whole time. So back to 29 to 25 in August, 25 back to 22 in September, and then between the end of September, all of October, and the beginning of November, 22 degrees is like, it's sitting there, so it would be really helpful if you could know your exact degree. But that's basically going to be about a week in from the last day of the sign. So, like if it's the 26th, so like around the 15th or so of January, this is just going to be sitting there. And then you can see it runs through the rest of those. Okay, so if you want to have more information on how the current astrology will affect you and what you can do with it, how you can maximize it, I always have a ton of resources and new ones coming all the time. So you'll want to check them out. Click on the notes below this video where it says more with the arrow button, and you will see all of these resources, which I'm going to list, okay? You'll definitely want to sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com, because you will get my write-up that I send out a month early, delivered into your inbox, of the sweet dates, the salty dates, what the aspects are, what you can expect from them, what the general tone of the month is, and other important notes, including links to other resources I've created that would be helpful. And when you sign up for my free email newsletter, you also get my Shine, my 28-day virtual coaching program for free. And I have a ton of blogs at anniehelpsyou.com, which is where you sign up for all of this, so you can kind of peruse there. If you want to take some free classes, you can go to Luminous Life Multiversity, lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. And you can see some free courses that I have there, including Unleash Your Money Magnet, which is particularly relevant for Capricorns for this next year. Or you can see my paid, very comprehensive courses, including Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. If you want to do astrology, resonate with how I teach, and you want to learn Annie style, you will go bonkers, because this is such a comprehensive course and I'm adding to it all the time. So it's growing in its content. So you can see that at lumlife.com. You can also see my written horoscopes at cozybysweetstarlight.com, plus other Astrology Kissed blogs. If you've come to this video and you're not one of my subscribers and monthly horoscope watchers, you will definitely want to do that, because I deliver those 4 to 6 weeks early, and you'll be able to see what's going on and make the most of the energies. And finally, I highly recommend you get my new book, Planetology: How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe, because it will help you to do just that. It's available December 8th, 2020, but Amazon's giving you 20% off if you pre-order it. And I do recommend you pre-order it, because there is a chance that all of the ones they printed might be sold, and which could cause a delay if you hadn't pre-ordered it. So those who pre-order will definitely get the first deliveries. So you'll want to get the Audible version, which as I'm recording this is not quite up there, but it will be up there soon. And you'll want to get the print version, because you'll want to have it as a beautiful hardcover reference book, but you'll also want to be able to listen to it on Audible, because it's long and detailed. But it is much more simple and less technical in some ways than some of the things I go into in the videos. And I think you'll love it. So I hope you have a wonderful Jupiter and Aquarius transit, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.